Welcome to TBS Analysis. We are here with Rafa Sattar. My name is Nusmila Lohani. Rafa is founder of Fera Foundation, and she's also the recipient of the prestigious Diana Award. During the pandemic, she started online classes to teach English in an orphanage right here in Bangladesh from her home in New York. And the response was so positive and overwhelming that she's launched a whole foundation based on that. And the rest was history. We are here with her at the TBS studio, and she will tell us about her work, future plans, and the foundation. Welcome, Rafa.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so let's start with the first question. So we understand that you founded the Fera Foundation in 2020. Can you tell us what made you initiate the idea, and how did you exactly execute the idea from your New York home?
So as you mentioned, I founded the organization in 2020, just as the pandemic started at the onset of school shutdowns.
Right.
Throughout the world.
Right.
And I think what concerned me most during this time was to know of a drastic rise in gender violence, in domestic violence from New York to Dhaka, everywhere during this time. And what I especially was shocked to learn of was a rise in child marriage rates in Bangladesh. And it was really shocking to me to know this, that in my motherland, one of the most progressive Muslim majority nations and Asian countries was experiencing such a setback in girls' education, despite all of the progress it has made. And I felt like I had an obligation to do what I could to undo that, the setbacks that we've experienced in this country. And from there, I knew that my impact would be limited because there were so many schools, the schools were shut down, and I wouldn't be able to access a lot of children, but I would be able to reach orphanages, and I would be able to reach a lot of girls through that means. And so I started reaching out to orphanages through social media. And I reached out to hundreds of orphanages, and most of them didn't get back to me, but I knew that even if one did, I would be able to have a transformative impact even in that way, if I could even reach the girls at one orphanage. And if I could inspire even one girl to renew her faith in her education, to renew her faith that her education can bring about a prosperous future for her, then I would feel like I had a transformative impact in my home country. So that really motivated me. And once I was able to reach out to one orphanage, we started our free tuition online classes. And from there, we only continued to expand. And what was really notable was that toward the end of 2021, when the girls were all taking their final exams, almost 95% of the children passed their final exams and were promoted to the next grade. So this was almost following an 18-month school shutdown. So I truly realized the transformative impact that our classes were having, and I only wanted to continue to expand, and we started expanding to schools. And so I have a lot of big ambitions for this organization.
So you mentioned that you expanded from orphanages to schools. Can you tell us how many orphanages and schools does the foundation cover right now?
So far we're working with 4 orphanages. And we're working with, we're currently holding classes in 4 schools. But we do have this very dynamic partnership with DNet Bangladesh. They have a network with 200 schools throughout the country. And we're trying to create a program that will allow us to expand to all of the schools.
200, you mean?
200.
Wow.
Yes. So this is a separate program that we're creating. I can't give too many details right now, but I'm very excited about that. And next year, we're actually planning on working with an NGO. They're planning on launching a remote teaching program in Bashing Shore Island for Rohingya refugee children.
Wow.
So we're hoping to help out with the coordination of that program. And we also have online classes going on, conversational English classes going on at a NGO operating in the Delatia brothel for brothel children.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm hoping to only continue to expand.
Yeah, and all of this sounds really impressive.
Thank you.
So আমি এখন মারিয়ামকে জিজ্ঞেস করব, what do you see?
Also, I wanted to ask you that for all these classes that are being conducted, they're being conducted by volunteers. So what is the foundation's current volunteer pool?
So far, we have around 50 volunteers.
Okay.
We actually experienced a lot of turnover. We had a lot of teachers serving for almost a year, but they've served for such a long time. We have had a lot of turnover over the summer. I started recruiting again toward the beginning of July, conducting interviews, and I'm hoping to place many more new teachers once I return to New York.
Right.
So hopefully that number will amp up very soon.
Okay. And what can you tell us about the curriculum, the design of it, and what subjects are taught?
So far, we have a focus on, we want to move away from a lecture-based model of education. We want to focus on participation, and we want to get the children really engaged in the lessons. We want their voices to be heard by their teachers, and we want the children to feel empowered to participate and engage in the classroom. So we always tell the teachers to allow the children to speak more in class, to give them more time to speak in class rather than the teachers themselves. For the curriculum, we're actually using the Bangladesh national curriculum.
Okay.
We're using their textbooks, but I always tell teachers to use a more interactive model and to pull resources from all kinds of different platforms that I supply them with, from videos to games to songs to PowerPoint presentations and so on, to make the lessons more interactive, virtual field trips.
Right.
And what we're particularly doing for conversational English classes is that we are trying to we're actually not using the Bangladesh national curriculum for this. We're using our own curriculum. And my focus for this is we want the children to only speak in English during the classes. We don't use any Bangla during these classes. And there are some particular teaching strategies that we implement to make sure these classes go smoothly. And there's a focus on body language so the children can associate English words with gestures instead of Bangla words, so they can make that direct connection. And we really want the children to only speak in English during these classes, so no Bangla. So we really want them to get into a flow of speaking fluently in English.
It covers all subjects. It's
so
not just
for
English.
The Bangladesh national curriculum, the classes that implement those resources, we teach all classes, math, chemistry,
subjects,
physics, from grade 1 to 12.
Oh, wow. You already mentioned partnership with DNET, or working with DNET. Can you tell us how many more partnerships does Fera Foundation have right now? And also, can you tell us about the funding? Like, how is the foundation funded?
So far we have partnerships with every one of the orphanages we're working with. So 4 orphanages. We have partnerships with so we're working with CLP USA, which is a US-based organization, and they operate in Bangladesh through DNET, so we're working closely with them. We're also working with this NGO based in the Delatia brothel, advocating for the rights of children in the brothels. And we are also working with this NGO based in Canada.
Okay.
And they were hoping, like I mentioned, to launch a project with them to provide remote education in the Rohingya refugee camps.
Okay.
So how many is that? I think that's 4, 5, 6, 7?
Yes.
7, yes.
You got the number right. Yeah.
Organizations.
Okay. All right. So can you tell us?
And
Sure.
oh, yes, the funding. So so far we do have sources of funding, but our focus right now is on sponsoring pilot projects
Okay.
with the different NGOs we're working with.
Okay.
And we also want to ensure that the children we maintain a standard of, we maintain a high quality standard of living for the children
Right.
to make sure that they have clothing, food, and so on. So that's our priority now because I personally don't believe that these children will be able to effectively focus on their studies if they are if they're experiencing malnutrition
Or if they're malnourished, right? Yeah.
So we're trying to focus on fulfilling the basic needs of the children, and in the near future, we're also hoping to apply for grants to reward our hardworking volunteers for the time and dedication they're putting into our program.
Right. Okay, that sounds all well thought out. Okay. I also wanted to ask you, what is your favorite part of your work?
My favorite part, I would say, it's definitely the children.
Okay.
The bonds that I fostered with them, even an ocean away.
Right.
And they've taught me so much on how to be a better person. They have so much compassion, and I know that they have gone through so much in their lives.
Right.
They are wise beyond their years, but they are always willing to give back to society.
Right.
They want to give to me. They never shy away from showering me with love, showering our volunteers with love. And I think this is something we all have so much to learn from. And yes, I just really love them, and I really got to experience their love firsthand coming to Bangladesh.
All right. I'll move on to the next question. Okay, so we understand that you are an aspiring human rights lawyer, and so can you tell us how and if you are pursuing that as a profession?
So I'm actually not a human rights lawyer yet.
Okay.
I've always had this dream, though, of pursuing a career in human rights law, and I've always wanted to advocate for the rights of victims of gender-based violence, of child marriage, of forced marriage, of child labor.
Right.
I've always wanted to humanize their stories and allow the general public to relate to their suffering and their pain and adversity. So, but I've also always thought to myself, what can I do to prevent these women and children from getting to that point when they're already victims, when they're already having their rights violated, and point when the damage to their lives has already been done.
Right.
So I sincerely believe that providing an education to these children and women is key, is an essential part to the solution,
Right.
to empowering them. And just as in the future, I still hope to advocate for the victims of such human rights violations. I want the Fera Foundation to continue its work. I want to see it continue empowering women and children with an education by providing access to an education in a safe, nurturing environment,
Right.
and by helping these women and children find their voice, and by guiding them in pursuing thriving professional careers.
Right. So are you currently a student
So
or?
currently I'm pursuing my master's
Okay.
in nonprofit management at Columbia University.
Oh, wow,
And
okay.
I hope that'll allow me to do even greater work with
Right.
the Fera Foundation.
Okay, that sounds really good. When are you expecting to graduate?
Next year.
Next year?
Hopefully in the spring.
Okay.
Sorry, the summer.
Summer.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Also, I wanted to ask you are a second generation Bangladeshi American.
Yes.
Do you hear a lot of stories growing up from your parents about Bangladesh? And if so, like, can you share like your favorite story about the country?
Yeah, my parents, I was surrounded growing up by stories of Bangladesh, stories of its lush greenery and environment and the hospitality of the people.
Right.
There's actually a very sweet story that my grandfather told me while I was in Bangladesh just a few days ago.
Sure.
He was telling me how when he was younger in the village, he described how the teachers his teachers would really treat their students like their own children.
Right.
And they would be willing to give all of their time, invest a lot of time after school to make sure that the children were excelling. And he described the story of a particular child, and this is 1950s,
Right.
I guess East Pakistan
Yeah.
at that point. He described how there was an orphan child, and there was a focus on not discriminating against this child, to make sure that this child was treated the same as any other student in the school. And this child went on to get a PhD from Australia.
Okay.
So, this is from such a long time ago, and I think, having those very empowering mentors is such a key part, and in all of our lives.
Right.
And it's something that these stories that connect us all, and there's so many lessons that we can draw from how life was back then.
Okay. Wow. We are towards the end of our conversation. I still just have like a couple of questions for you. You recently received the prestigious Dino Award, so I'm hoping you can tell us about when did you get to hear about the news, and what does this award mean for you and for the foundation?
So I learned that I received the award around early June.
Okay.
And it was such a wonderful surprise. I don't expect to get any award from this work. Just doing this work is so rewarding for me. But I am very hopeful that this award will give our work a lot more credibility. It'll elevate our reputation with our partners, and it will also help us recruit even more qualified teachers for our wonderful students.
Right.
And I'm very optimistic of the doors the Dano Award will open for us now.
That's great. My last question is that, so Fera means to return, and when are you planning to revisit Bangladesh again? Also, can you tell us what is your most favorite thing about the city?
Oh, so I'm actually hoping to visit again in January.
Okay.
There's so much work left to do with NGO work. A lot of things I didn't get to do this time, but I'm hoping to carry out in January, a lot of pilot projects.
Right.
So I'm very excited to come back. And I would say my favorite aspect about Bangladesh, and I really saw it this time when I came, is the hospitality of the people.
Right.
And the NGO directors and the volunteers, seeing them in person, they really did treat me like I was a part of their family. There were so many volunteers who invited me to their home, and it was so heartwarming. And the children as well, they're so generous.
Right.
And they don't have anything, and they're still willing to even give me a hug or make whatever they can for me. So I think what I really admire so much about the people of Bangladesh is the hospitality in the country, and it's something that just really motivates me more to continue doing this work.
All right. Can I ask just one additional question?
Sure.
So I understand that you are doing your master's currently, and you also have this foundation that is expanding with really it seems as though with great speed. How do you manage time? Like how many hours do you need to put in for Fera Foundation, let's say per week?
So for now, it takes up a good amount of my time. I'll actually be starting my master's in a week.
Okay.
So I haven't yet had to make that
Right.
that decision on how I'll be allocating time. I would say almost like 70 to 80 hours per week for now.
Oh, wow.
But part of the reason why I came to Bangladesh was to also figure out, to also make sure that the NGO directors and the volunteers, that we're all on the same page,
Right.
and to make sure that things go as smoothly as possible
Right.
once I start my master's. So
Okay.
I might have to take a bit of a step back once I start my master's program, but I'm very hopeful and very optimistic that things will go much more smoothly, and that the classes will be operating even if I'm not as hands-on as I usually am.
All right. Thank you so much, Rafa, for coming down to TBS studio and sharing your incredible journey with us. I know that you have a flight to catch tomorrow.
Oh, I do. Yes.
So thank you for your time.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for joining us at TBS studio. If you enjoyed the conversation, please feel free to like and share the video. Thank you.